Hello, my name is Giselle, and welcome back to the Fully Me channel. I am a performing artist, a creativity coach, and a creative healing facilitator. I work with artists and dreamers like you and me to achieve those goals, dust off those artistic dreams and goals, and to make them a reality. And one of the ways that I do this is by moving through those limiting blocks, emotional blocks most of the time, so that we can actually achieve those things and go so much further. Right? If you are interested in learning more about me and the work that I do, be sure to check out the description box below. Got some links down there for you to click on and to explore a little bit. So today, so a couple of ideas came to mind, and one that I want to share with you right now is it's not tender, but I'm going to share a little bit about myself. And that is, what do you do, or how do you forgive yourself when you have given up on yourself? How do you forgive yourself when you feel like you've given up on yourself? And this can be from a personal standpoint, specifically to your creative dreams and aspirations, or it can be in different areas of your life. Um, Honestly, I feel like when you feel like you've given up on yourself, the pain can be pretty similar, even though the situation is different. And for me, if you don't know my story, I grew up kind of since I was in single digits. I knew that the performing arts was for me. I knew I wanted to be an actress and a singer, and I was writing songs and singing them to whoever will sit down long enough for me to capture their attention. Doing monologues anytime there was an audition to come up. I'm having my kids sit down on the couch. I'm having my family members sit down on the couch. When I was very, very little, I was capturing my mom at the kitchen sink trying to read one of my storybooks and act it out for her. So I've always had this desire to be in the performing arts. However, somewhere along the line, living out life, doubt began to come in, right? So I knew very young. I went to performing arts school. I started performing professionally, getting paid for it in high school. I traveled the world representing theater. Like I was doing it. I was doing it, right? So it wasn't as if I didn't know. But at some point, I found myself in a crossroad in my life as I exited college and I'm entering into this real world, right? Where I began to judge myself or compare myself to other people. And maybe I should do this instead of that. You hear a lot where, as a performing artist, you don't make a lot of money. So don't do that. Go and do something else. And while that's true for some, it's also not true for some, right? You have those who are amazing creative artists in their whole own field, and they make very little money. And then you have those who are amazing creative artists in their own field, and they are like multimillionaires, billionaires, right? So it's a yes and both are true. However, something shifted for me, whereas as a little girl, that thought never even entered my mind. I'm like, this is just what I do, right? You just wake up and you're breathing. You don't even realize, when did you start breathing? You just was breathing. And so for me, it was that point where it was like, I'm just here and I'm just performing. I'm just creating. I'm making jewelry. I'm painting. I'm drawing. I'm dancing through the house, especially when everyone leaves. I'm like turning down the light and turn on one lamp so I have a whole spotlight. I'm doing this from my childhood. But as I began to get older, I started to question myself. As I began to get older, others' points of view and other people's experiences began to gain more priority within my life. As I began to get older, I began to have more doubt, and therefore that opened the door for other people. Not all ill intent or anything like that. Some of it misguided, some of it is just their own experiences, right? And then you have some people who have individuals who are literally trying to speak negativity into their life and over their life, right? So you have a wide range of what that could look like. But for me, I still took it as, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to do that. And I tried to fit into a mold. One, a mold that I created myself. So I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. But also a mold that other people had for their lives. and were giving to me, offering to me, stuffing on me to fit in out of love most of the time. And sometimes just because. What that ended up doing was taking me down a rabbit hole for many years of my life of trying to fit in places where I didn't fit in, and then thinking that there was something wrong with me. What it began to do is self sabotage. Even opportunities that came in, I wanted them, but the energy that I was holding within myself was filled with so much doubt, with so much low self esteem, even with all of the accolades, right? It's crazy how we forget all of the wonderful positive things that we actually have done or that people actually have spoken of us or over us, right? Like things like I did a musical and it featured one of my songs. And like a whole musical, and then they added one of my songs that I got a chance to sing. It's wild that I went overseas 2 different summers in a row for almost a month to perform. It's wild that I wrote plays and had people be a part of it. It's wild that I was commissioned to do poetry and to write a song for a dance company. But you forget those things, and that's just a few things. But you forget those things when you are in this cycle of self doubt, when you're in this cycle of having more trust for someone else's word than what your spirit is saying. And it's easy to fall into that trap. So I'm not saying I give a lot of grace, right? Because it's easy for everybody to do that. However, it comes a point where in your spirit, this is not right. It doesn't feel right. You end up beating up yourself because you don't fit into somebody else's box. And you take on any criticism, you take on any judgments, and you amplify it. Because again, that space and that trust within you has been fractured a little bit. That trust that was there has been questioned so much that is kind of out of alignment. Do you know what I mean? So, how do you forgive yourself when you have abandoned this part of yourself? When you have rejected this part of yourself? When you have let yourself down? How do you do that? Because honestly, listen, if you're trying to do anything in life, there's going to come a point where forgiveness is needed. In order to move forward, some things will have to be let go. And some things will be let go like that. Some things will be let go over a period of months. Some things that may take years. It just depends on your process. It depends on what it is, and it depends on how you're holding it. But if we don't, it will always be there. It will always be a stumbling block and potentially sabotaging even the most wonderful things that you desire. And let me just tell you from experience, honey, yes, it will sabotage the things that you want. You're like, yes, I want this, please, please bring it to me, bring it to me. And your energy is repelling it because it is unsure, because the trust isn't there, because you are not in one accord with yourself. So how can you forgive yourself? Grace is the first thing. See yourself. Sometimes it's a little easier to externalize that part of yourself so that you can see yourself. So even if that's seeing yourself as a smaller, younger version of yourself, because a lot of times that's what's happening. That younger part of ourselves is hurt or scared or fearful or sad or has been told things that has made them question themselves. And they're just living within you. So any little thing, they're like hyper scared of it. So some of it, a way that you can start this process is by externalizing that part of yourself, seeing yourself as a smaller child, making these decisions or messing up, right? Having a tantrum. How can you comfort them? How can you look at them with love and affection? How can you give them another chance? That is one huge way to start. Another way is when those thoughts come up, like, man, I'm so stupid. I should have did this, da 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 da, and I didn't do that, and I would have been there if I wasn't doing this, and I could have been there. Stop doing that. The woulda, coulda, shouldas, they don't help us. If it's not coming from a place of, I am learning the lesson, thank you for my pearl, I am moving on. But if you're stuck in that closet, if you're stuck, and you know how sometimes you have those mirrors and it's like one in the front and two on the side, right? All these mirrors, if you're stuck in that place, but it's in a place of where you're talking down on yourself, it's not going to help you to feel better. It's not going to move you forward along. Okay. So let go of all of that. You can look at it and say, well, I didn't do that. So I'm going to take that. And next time this opportunity comes up, I'm going to do that. Next time this opportunity comes up, well, I've learned. Take the lesson, take the pearl, leave the rest. Leave the rest. Okay. So those two things right there, and I can give you more, but I'm going to stop there because I feel like those two things, giving ourselves grace and love and affection, crying it out, being frustrated, but then saying, okay, we can do better. We know better. Let's try again. What that will begin to do, and then also watching how you speak to yourself, what that's going to begin to do is to build up confidence within you and trust within you with yourself. It's not that you didn't want those opportunities. You obviously did, but there was a part of you that was fearful of them for whatever reason. So for me, that doubt, oh, I was totally fine. But then at one point in my life, and I think this began to start happening for me. There was one incident that I can think of specifically in college where I felt like automatically the outsider. And I began to think like, okay, what did I do? Like something wrong with my voice, something wrong with the way that I look, something wrong with the way that I show up. And I wasn't included in those groups, even though everybody at the school knew that I sang. And this is my thing. This is what I do. But at some point I began to be intentionally left out. And instead of saying, okay, maybe something wrong with y'all, because I looked up to them in high regard, I went inward and say, okay, maybe something was wrong with me. And that just fed on a couple of other things that was already simmering, and it just made things messy. So the work that I had to do, and that I even stand in, that try to flares up again, the work that I had to do was to go inward and to rebuild that trust of how I see myself, of how I adore my voice. No, my voice is not like everybody else's. My voice is mine, and it's beautiful. And it makes it even that much more special because it's not like anybody else's. And that's okay. And so I've had to rebuild that trust and that relationship with myself, even to show up and sing, period. Um, really quickly, I was at a family event recently, and one of my family, it was my mom actually. My mom was like, Giselle, I want you to come over and sing. I want you to sing for us, right? I love it. I love it when you have family members, specifically your parents, who like to brag on you. That always feels amazing. Um, or even friends who love to brag on you. And previously in the past, I would be like, ooh, okay, when I was in that season of questioning and doubting myself. But this time I was like, okay, let's go. And I just sang the first thing that came on my mind, right? It may be a song that I sing very often, but that's okay. I got up there and I sang because I have been rebuilding and I have rebuilt that trust within myself. I let go of the opportunities that I messed over because of that energetic self-sabotaging, right? That fear, that hurt, that questioning, that doubt of myself. And now I'm in a place where I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna give you what I got. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it's okay. It's me. It's what I got. And that is the foundation that I have built on to go and create my own stage, to go and to do my first ever concert, solo concert, right? I'm not singing behind anybody else. I'm not helping anybody else. I'm not assisting anybody. This is me. This is all me, baby. All me. All me. The musicians are here for me. The people are here for me. The sound guys are here for me. Everybody is here for me. Hello. That is the foundation that allowed me to do that. The forgiveness, that rebuilding that trust, that confidence in myself, the forgiving myself, the believing in myself, the loving on myself, the little girl version of me. So, wherever this finds you, in whatever area of your life, even in our creative arts and expression, because that is an identity for me, maybe it is as well for you. This is important. Forgiving ourselves when we've let ourselves down is extremely important because it's from that place that we can gather up all our pearls, we can get those lessons, and we can go higher. So, sending you so much blessings on this. This can be a tender process, but it is so well worth it. Wishing you the very best in it. If you have any questions or if you would like assistance on this process, this journey yourself, be sure to reach out to me. Find out the information's below. Like this video, subscribe it, and most importantly, share it to another person who could really benefit from it. And until next time, keep living, being creative, and loving life fully. Talk to you soon. Bye.